Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to jump into some basic German grammar, but forget the boring old textbooks. Instead, our teacher is going to be one of the most famous fairy tales ever told, Hansel and Gretel. Let's get started. So you might be thinking, can a fairy tale really teach you German? I mean, a story with lost kids, a house made of candy, and a scary witch? You bet it can. We're going to dive into this classic story and see how German grammar works in a way that's actually fun and, much easier to remember. Okay, first things first. You can't have a story without characters, right? And to talk about them, we need to get our personal pronouns down. So let's meet our main players. All right, here they are. So over here we've got Hans. In German, you'd say, ist Hansel. That just means he. Simple enough. And then we have his sister, Gretel. So for her, we say, sie ist Gretel. Sie means she. So right away, we have our first pair, for he and sie for she. Okay, but what happens when we talk about them together? Well, if they were talking about themselves, they'd say, wir sind Kinder, which is we are children. So wir means we, but if we're talking about them, we'd say, sie wohnen in einer Hütte, or they live in a hut. And you might have noticed sie again. So sie can mean she or they. So how do you tell the difference? It's all in the verb that comes after it. That little clue tells you if you're talking about one person or a whole group. Okay, so this chart kind of puts everything in one place for us. We've already covered sie and wir, so let's fill in the rest. If you're talking about yourself, you use ich for I. If you're talking to a friend, you'd use du. And for it, it's es. There you go. This is basically your starter pack for personal pronouns in German. All right, let's get back to the fairy tale. So the whole problem in this story kicks off because the family has a huge problem. They're really, really poor. And this sad situation is actually the perfect setup to learn two of the most important verbs in all of German. Haben, which is to have, and Sein, which is to be. So the stepmother, she says this awful thing. She declares, wir haben kein Essen. That means, we have no food. And boom, right there in that one dramatic line, we have our first super important verb, haben, to have. Now, verbs in German are a little tricky. Haben changes its form depending on who's talking. We call this conjugation. So ich habe is I have, du hast is you have, and like the stepmother said, wir haben is we have. The key thing to remember is that the ending of the verb has to match the person. So we know what the family has, or rather what they don't have. But what about what they are? The family is poor. The children are hungry. And all those is and are words bring us to our next powerhouse verb, to be. And that verb is sein, to be. Now, I'm going to be honest, sein is a bit of a weird one. It's irregular, which means you pretty much just have to memorize its forms. But hey, you've already seen it. Remember, ist Hansel? He is Hansel, and wir sind Kinder. We are children. This verb is all about describing who or what something or someone is. So the kids get left in the woods. Pretty dark stuff. They wander around for a while, and then they stumble upon this incredible house made of candy. And this, of course, is where the witch lives. It's the perfect chance to look at two more verbs that both mean to live. So naturally, you'd ask, where does the witch live? In German, that's wo wohnt die Hexe? And that question hands us our next verb on a silver platter, wohnen. This means to live, as in, where's your house? Where do you reside? And here's the best part. Wohnen is a regular verb. That means it follows a super simple, predictable pattern. You just take the main part of the verb, the stem, which is wohn, and then you tack on the right ending for whoever you're talking about. So it's ich wohne, du wohnst, wohnst. See? Once you know the pattern, you can do this with tons of German verbs. Okay, but wait, there's another German verb for to live, and that's leben. So what's the deal? Well, think of it this way. Wohnen is about your address, your apartment, your house. The witch and the kids, they wohnen in einem Haus. They reside in a house. But leben is bigger. It's more about your general existence. Before they found the house, the kids would leben im Wald. They live in the forest. It's a small difference, but a really useful one. So you know how the rest of the story goes, right? The kids are smarter than the witch, they outsmart her, grab her treasure, and make their way back home. And if we use our new grammar, we could say that when they get home, sie haben Geld, they have money, and now, sie sind glücklich, they are happy.
So believe it or not, just by following that pretty intense story, you've actually picked up a whole bunch of really important German grammar. Let's do a super quick review of everything we covered.
First off, the pronouns. You've got these down now. You can talk about yourself with ich, a friend with du, and you know all about Hansel and Gretel with er and sie. These are literally the building blocks for making any sentence. And you didn't just learn pronouns. You've got 4 key verbs in your toolkit now. You have the 2 big ones, sein to be and haben to have, and you've got that useful pair, wohnen and leben, for talking about where someone lives. So now it's your turn to actually use what you've learned. I'm going to leave you with a question using the grammar we just went over. Und du, wo wohnst du? That means, and you, where do you live? Give it a shot, see if you can answer that for yourself. Thanks for joining me.